talk about this in my class in early Christianity. I suggest that if you took the canonical Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and you put them in a blender, and then you put in the non-canonical Gospels, Judas, Thomas, Mary Magdalene, the Ebionites, the Diatessaron, and then you put in the epistles, the letters of Paul and Timothy and Titus and John, and you blended them, you hit the button and chopped them all up, and then poured them out, you would have a sort of metamorphized parable. In geology, metamorphism, when volcanoes and pressure force rocks together and change them, that's metamorphic rocks. I'm going to suggest there's a meta-parable. And the meta-parable is this, that this Trinity, God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, they are all aware of the world's sufferings. They are aware of the son who's run away and joined up with drunkards and prostitutes. They're aware of a good man who has been beaten and left to die along the side of the road. They're aware of a poor widow woman who has lost her last penny and her chance of buying food is now gone, and she's weeping because she's afraid of starvation. That all of these circumstances are ones in which the Trinity are aware, and that they intervene not by God's hand or Jesus directly appearing and curing the situation, but they intervene by the actions of believers. For example, it's not God's hand who picks up the beaten man along the side of the road outside of Jericho and takes him to the hospital. It's the Good Samaritan who, acting on behalf of the Trinity upon God, brings a person who he has every reason to despise to a place where he can be treated and cared for and pays for that care. It's not God's hand who finds the prodigal son, brings him home, dresses and feeds him, and fixes it all up with dad. It is the servant and it's the father who sat down and changed their attitudes and their thinking so that the prodigal son, the lost son, can be saved. The meta-parable is one that tells Christians that they are God's hand, and thus if they wish good things to happen, if they want wrongs to be righted, they have to take it a responsibility that they have a share. The representation, by the way, in this slide is from the Chartres Cathedral in France, 13th century representation of Christ. And he's raising his hand to bless all of those who are entering the church. And I'm going to suggest that it follows this kind of a concept, that he's not only blessing them, he's also giving them a charge. And that is that they are to go out and to do the good, to feed the poor, to visit the imprisoned, to take care of the orphan and the widow, that they are to be the hands of God within their own communities, in this case, in medieval France. I presented this as an interpretation at a Society for Biblical Literature conference here in St. Louis, and you know what, I had a lot of individuals very excited by the idea, and I also had a lot of individuals who disagreed with it. The one thing you can always be guaranteed of when talking with Christians, whether they are academics or religious leaders or members of congregations, is they almost always will have a good level of debate within some of these interpretations. Well, there's a second lecture on Christianity that you're going to have to listen to, so I'm going to cut this one off. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a good time.